Guess nobody told this guy how a door works. Alright, let's get this thing in here before it gets rained on. Alright guys, so got some new parts in the mail today. Gonna be building a budget PC of around $600. This thing should be good enough to do any kind of 1080p gaming, or I'll be using it mostly for editing, because my old computer, the one I'm currently using, is quite a few years old. I think it's about 9 years old, and it's got a dual core processor, which really isn't that great. We'll be using a quad core that has 8 threads, a new processor by AMD called the Ryzen. It has integrated VEGA graphics in it. I believe it's VEGA 11. And then we have 128 gigabyte SSD, which is the M.2 slot, the NVMe. It's going to be much faster than the mechanical drive I have right now. Also, we have 16 gigabytes of 3000 megahertz RAM DDR4. That's two 8 gigabyte sticks. Then we have this beauty, the ASUS Prime B350 Plus. I won't get into too much about this, but this is a great motherboard when paired with the Ryzen. Hopefully I don't have to do any kind of flashing, get it to accept this new Ryzen, because this is the 2000 series, the 2400G. I would imagine that this may be updated enough to have the right BIOS. If not, we'll do the necessary steps to make it accept it and recognize the processor. Went ahead and picked up a 600 watt, 80 plus, bronze rated power supply, power everything. And this one, the BQ model, is supposed to be semi-modular. That way we can use all the necessary cords that we need and not install the ones that we don't need, so we don't have that mess of a tangled up cord inside the computer. Get the airflow nice and unaffected by anything blocking its path. We're going to be stuffing all of this into this Cooler Master MasterBox Lite 5 RGB. Has a tempered glass side panel, as you can see right here. It also has the ability to run with the ASUS Aura Sync, which this motherboard does have, I believe, which will be great, because then I can control these 3 colored fans in the front, and I do have a colored fan already that I can throw into the back or the side of this. So we'll have quite a few fans cooling this baby down. Let's get into these things. Okay, so as you can see, we took the side panel off, and here, not 100% sure, but I believe this case is customizable in the fact that you can change the color of the trim that goes around the buttons right here, your control panel. As you can see, we have 2 3.0 USB ports on the front, which is something I've never had the luxury of. In here you can see the 3 RGB fans, and if you notice here how this is blocked off from the rest of the inside of the case, this is where your power supply goes, so that's great. Lots of slots for expansion. I believe this can be used with any style motherboard. Alright, I'll get into it a little bit more and get back with you. Okay, so what we want to do first is we want to open up the motherboard. Then we'll go ahead and pop this into the case. This is your I/O panel. Every time you get a new motherboard, it'll come with its own I/O panel, which just means in-out. This is where all your ports are found, directly off of the motherboard. We'll just take this out, as you can see. We'll just pop this into the back of the computer case here. Now you'll want to make sure, look at your motherboard to see exactly which way it'll lay out. That way you don't put it in there wrong. It should just pop in just like that. I don't know if you could hear that. Let's see what we have here. Let's see whatnot. Cables, and a bag of screws. Here we go. We want to grab these screws here. we can go ahead and get this motherboard put in. Well, actually, before we do that, we need to install the processor, because these come with their own heatsink that you need the ability to remove this one, the mount for the heatsink. And I'll just show this to you real quick. AMD, we have a Ryzen 5 2400G with Radeon RX Vega graphic, 4 core, 8 threads, 3.9 gigahertz max boost with 3.6 gigahertz base. I believe this comes with the Great Spire cooling heatsink. As you can see, basically what's taking up all the space in the box here. We'll pop this out so you can see it. Massive cooling unit. Comes with your thermal paste pre-installed onto the heatsink. Don't want to touch that. Just want to put this aside until you need it. So I'll just set this guy right here. Go ahead and get into this. Now when installing the processor, you only want to grab it by the sides. You don't want to risk bending any of the hundreds of pins. It does have 2 slots for your fingers to pick it up. And you'll want to line up this little gold arrow with the arrow on the motherboard, which is right there. So we'll put it in just like that. Should just drop into place, just like that. And you close this down. Boom. Now your processor is installed. Now moving on to the cooling fan, we need to remove this guy first. Let's take those off. And we'll grab this guy. You'll want to find your fan header, which is up here. And you'll also want to make sure you don't block your RAM. You'll want to turn this away from the RAM. You'll just want to line up your screw holes, set it on there nice. It can only go in 2 different directions, either this way or the opposite. And you'll just screw one in, move to the opposite corner, start this one, move to the next, just like you would on a car, to apply even pressure. As you can see, it's started to turn the board because they only go so far, so once they get tight, you don't have to worry about over tightening because they are spring loaded and it will hold tension on the screw. So it's only important to just get it seated. Okay, now your processor is hooked up. Then you just find the fan header. So now you have essentially installed processor. Now we are going to go ahead and check our manual, see which slots when using 2 sticks you should use. I think it's either or with this motherboard, but we'll just make sure. Alright, here we go. When installing only 2, you'll want to use A2 and B2. Okay, go ahead and grab those, which we did get the Corsair Vengeance LPX 2 sticks for a total of 16 gigabytes. So what we'll do is, here, I'll bring it down here so you can see a little better. It says to use A2 and B2. Okay, so now these can only go in one way because of this little slot in here. So we'll just take this, slide it in until it latches. Alright. Guess I should peel that off. Same thing on this one. Don't believe that one unlocks either. I'll shove that one down first. We'll go ahead and pop this one back out so I can take off the clear protector piece here. Didn't notice it until the second stick. Then I'll just pop it back into place. Click, click. Alright, so one more step closer. We got the motherboard, the CPU, and the RAM installed. Now we'll go ahead and throw this thing into place. before we do anything else. Okay, so here we have the SSD drive, which is 3D NAND, NVMe 1.2. It's not the highest, but because it's a Gen 3 times 2, but it's double the speed, so it's still going to be ultra fast. It's not very big at 128 gigs, but the main focus of this is just installing Windows and like my video editing software. They'll be on this, and everything else will be on my old hard drive, which is a 750 gig. I'll just use that for mass storage. Plus I also have 3 external hard drives that I use for mass storage, totaling up to, I think it's like 6 terabytes. Storage isn't an issue. We're mainly focusing on getting some speed with this. This is a M.2 NVMe and not the SATA. Looks like this thing comes with a heatsink. We'll have to get that installed on there. I believe it goes on just like this. So that's nice. As you can see, it's super tiny. It's about the size of a stick of gum. The slot for it is right here. Now you want to kind of put it in at a 45. Just like so. Well, sad fact, I cannot find a screw to mount the SSD card. So now we'll just jump into installing the power supply. I'll move you back so you can see a little more. Move this back just a hair. Now this is pretty nice. All I have to do is attach this plate to the front of it. I just slide it in and then get all my cables ran to where they need to go. And like any kind of build that you do, you're gonna hit, you know, issues with something. If the only issue I have is that a single screw wasn't supplied, then I think I did pretty good. It could be a lot worse. Alright, so let's get this opened up. Alright, so as you can see, came with a book. Looks like the same book for the 500 and 600 watts. And as I was saying, you have semi-modular, meaning some of these cables are plug and play instead of just being in the power supply. So if you don't need them, you don't have to put them in. Now granted, the reason it's semi-modular is because the 24-pin motherboard plug is not modular, which honestly, why would you not want that? You know what I mean? You're going to use that plug. I can't think of a scenario where you wouldn't need that. Oh, nice. Little cable, Velcro strap to keep all your wires nice and neat. Got some screws. Alright, so we'll take this bubble wrap off. Ooh, this is nice. And we'll get this plate attached to the front of it. Okay, so I just need to put this on here, like so. See, we just throw that on, and it's got a couple finger screws, and we take it, and we just slide it in here. These all in there. We'll go ahead and take this little twist tie off, a little bread tie, let the wires dangle a little better. Looks like you also have the 4+4 plug, not modular. And then we'll just finish tightening these down, which you should be almost all the way there anyway. Alright, so now the power supply is installed and ready to go. We'll just tighten these down with the screwdriver. Make sure it doesn't move on us at all. Now we'll get to routing these cables. So, after going back through the motherboard box, I happened to find the M.2 screw. Let's go ahead and get this thing put in there. I believe it was on the third one here. And as you can see, I've already got some wires ran. I'll probably get them all ran and then figure out how I can clean them up, if that's even possible. Sometimes what you get is what you get. Go ahead and open this back up. Grab the M.2 and then we slide it in. As you can see how it sticks out a little. It's so the little contacts are nice and tight. It's got a very tiny screw head on it, so we'll need a small precision type screwdriver, which I have plenty of different ones. I'll grab this and you just screw it down. Pretty straightforward and simple. Now you don't want to over tighten that, you just want to get it snug. And then here we have the heat sink. I'm going to go ahead and lay this down and put it on, and I'll come right back. As you can see, we got the stick-on heat sink in place. I guess we can go ahead and run the rest of the cables to where they go. I'll do that off camera, but I'll get right back with you. Alright guys, so as you can see, got everything installed. All the cables ran and cleaned up nicely. We'll go ahead and flip the power switch on, and that's good. I see some red lights on the board. We'll go ahead and hit this button.
Hello darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again.
And as you can see, nothing is happening. This is what I was afraid of. Even the case fans aren't lighting up. This one is simply because it's not controlled by the board. Well, guess that means we're gonna have to update the BIOS. Fail. Yeah, can't even turn it off. Alright, I guess I'll finish this up and get back to you.
Yeah, I confess, Father, I confess, 'cause I've been living